Where you guys going? All right. Oh, no. There we go. All right. Stay with me now. So, come on now. What a way to start a live stream. All right. Uneducated Economist style. Thank you for joining in on today's live stream. Why won't my phone stay still? Oh, come on now. All right, in today's video, we're going to talk about how it is that I was able to gain a 57% return inside of 30 days inside of the stock market. Now, June 11th, I think is what it was. I'll go get the link to the video and I'll put it down in the description for you guys. But back in June 11th, about 30 days ago, I had talked about what it is that I planned on doing as far as investments going into the future, at least for 2025. Now, of course, part of that is going to be dollar cost averaging into Bitcoin, but I've been doing that for a very long time. So dollar cost averaging into Bitcoin at $50 a week was one of my many places that I could put money, but have always been putting money pretty constantly for a very long time, but not always throughout my years of speculating into Bitcoin, have I been putting money towards it. But recently, $50 a week has been a continuous thing, and I've made sure to let everybody know that I do that. Same thing with silver when I can. I'll try and buy silver occasionally. Monthly, every other month. Sometimes I wait. If prices are up, I'll hold off and I won't buy silver for a while. Now, on June 11th, I told people that I am dollar cost averaging into a particular stock, and I got a lot of pushback from it. I mean, a lot of pushback. People told me I was crazy, that I had no idea how to invest, that I was going to lose money, and that I was actually doing something that was quite dangerous by telling people about this particular place that you could possibly invest, if you want to consider it that. I thought it was more of a speculation, but the more I got to thinking about it, when I made the decision to buy into this particular stock, I did it because I knew we were on the bottom of a particular industry, and that's the lumber industry. And when I think about the bottom of the lumber industry, and I think about how it is that the mill curtailments and inventory depletions and how things have slowed down dramatically, I think about how it is that the buyer traffic has been distant from the market for years. At some point, all things change. And when you start to see the increase in demand, not only from the lumber side, but from the builders, from the buyer traffic, from the entire industry, then you're going to find that many portions of this industry, like the manufacturers of building supplies, to the home builders, to many other different industries, are going to do quite well. Now, leveraging an ETF like NAIL, which is leveraged by 3 times, is probably one of the most dangerous things when it comes to volatility, because the dramatic move down can be just as much as it moves up. But when I looked at the charts and I thought about the industry and I thought about how slow everything has been for the last few years, and I thought about how it is that the industry will be picking up or could be picking up just simply off of the idea that the elevated inflation expectation will raise the neutral interest rate, making it ever closer to the Fed funds rate, making the economy less restricted, I thought to myself, well, if that's the case, and I truly believe it, and I'm going to put my money where my mouth is, then this industry should do fairly well. And if it's leveraged by 3 times, well, how fast can the moves be made? 57% inside of 30 days, dollar cost averaging starting June 11th. I couldn't believe it. Now, it wasn't a lot, and I'm not going to tell you how much it was exactly. But to be honest with you, I see this as definitely able to call it out from being on the boots on the ground. So many other people out there might say that I was lucky or something of that nature. Right? I mean, they'll say, like, you have no idea what you're doing and you just guessed. Right? Maybe that was the case. Maybe it was. But I looked at it and I looked around and I thought about what was happening, not only from what I was seeing, but from what I was thinking about from monetary policy. And if I combine those two, and I said to myself, man, if you're really legit, then you'll put that money down there. You'll put your money into that and dollar cost average into it like you always have. As far as investing goes, dollar cost averaging. So starting June 11th, that's exactly what I did. And I bought once a week. And if I skipped a week, I doubled up the amount that I bought the next week. I was able to get an average share price of $53, and right now it's at 86. So again, I think about it. You sit on the ground. If you have an average day job, your boots on the ground perspective is by far the best. You can see things so much faster, so much clearer, so much easier than anybody who's reading charts, watching the Economist on the money news channels, listening to all the fancy people out there who talk big game in their money games. But yet, here it is, you have firsthand, real view perspective of what it is that's taking place in the economy, and you can take advantage of it. Right? The only reason why I was able to even, like, I've been watching this particular, okay, I don't want to talk too much about it. It's called Nail, right? You guys know what I'm talking about. It's on the thumbnail, right? Leveraged ETF 3 times. Now, I've been watching this thing for a couple of years. And I had brought it up a couple of times on my channel. The first time that I brought it up, the people who heard, and I wasn't trying to give advice or anything else. I said, man, this is pretty interesting. I bet you this is going to do a fairly decent move. It wasn't shortly after that. Sure enough, it ran up. I couldn't tell you exactly what the percentage was from the day that I had called it to the day that I had peaked out, which wasn't too much longer later. So the people who had taken advantage of it, I hope they had dumped out early. All right? Who knows how fast and how quickly this thing will reverse and go back down. But as I watch the industry get on the cusp of being able to not only start to increase the amount of production within the housing industry, within the amount of production that can be ramped up within the mill capacities, when I think about the amount of production that could increase if the ability for a less restricted financial market was to be presented into the economy. And so when I think about what it is that I have been saying this whole time about a lesser restricted monetary policy based on the neutral interest rate being elevated, then this is exactly what we would expect. Right? Is for home builders and building suppliers to do well. And this is a leveraged ETF that's, backed by these builders and suppliers. So I think about it, like, people ask me all the time, what do I do with the information? This is how I did it, right? People say you gambled, you took a chance. And I'm like, yeah, it's a 57% return in 30 days. Dang. Starting June 11th to today. Dollar cost averaging, very simple, easy doing, right? Didn't even think about it. I thought about, starting that said, this is it. I believe we have hit the bottom and we're going to start moving up. When I believed that to be the case, and I thought, yeah, let's do it. Let's see what happens. And sure enough, I don't know what to tell people. When you internalize the information for yourself, you're going to have to see it for yourself. You're going to have to look at what it is that's taken place, and you're going to have to make decisions based on what it is that you are seeing. If you're listening to somebody else to make your decisions and you're thinking to yourself, man, that guy has a really good attitude about the economy, he really knows what he's talking about, I'm going to follow what he's doing and I'm going to buy into what it is he's buying, and then that guy disappears one day and you can't find him anywhere, how are you going to know when to sell? All right? See, that's why I don't try to give advice. I've never tried to give advice on this channel on where it is that you should be putting your money. What I say to people is just like, cut back on your expenses, figure out what it is that you can do to get a return on your capital investment, and, you know, get as much money in as you can, get in the flow. Like, I don't know where it is that I've told people to ever invest, right? But yet, here it is. This is one thing that I did tell people. They told me I was doing the craziest thing in the entire world by doing it. And I thought, yeah, sounds right about me, right? I do things so differently and so against the grain. And here we are, 57% return. You know? Think about your own industry, what it is that you're in, what it is that you can see way ahead of anybody else out there. I mean, I think about it. I get phone calls before anybody ever gets a sale. Right? Before I do the special order, before I do anything of that nature, hold on one second here, guys. This ain't get sketchy, but I think about it. It was just like, I get the phone calls first. I get the people who are looking for bids. I get the people who are looking for contractors. I get the people who are looking just for basic materials and ideas of what it is that's going to be coming into the future for future projects, right? I get that firsthand view of all that stuff. So by the time they actually make the purchase and then that data starts flowing through the system, I have already understood what it is that's happening within the economy. Think about that. That's how people can view it firsthand. And so I can't give you a exact explanation on how it is that you're supposed to be standing at work and view it for yourself. But once you recognize and understand the economic theories that are at play, right? When you start understanding the Cantillon effect, when you understand the bullwhip effect, when you start thinking about some of the things that you learned about monetary policy, maybe from watching this channel or doing the research yourself, and you start combining these things together, and you realize, holy moly, man, I'm seeing things so differently than anybody else, and I'm realizing it's not that I'm seeing it differently, I'm just seeing it early. And that's the difference inside of it. So again, 57% return in 30 days, 57% gain. I can't believe it worked out as well as it did. Like, I'm not trying to brag it up. I'm just trying to say, man, look at it. Look at the things that you got going on in your life so that you can pull off something very similar. I'm going to continue into this thing. We're just getting started inside of it. And again, I'm not trying to give financial advice to anybody. I'm not trying to give like stock picking advice or none of that stuff. But I don't know who else has pulled something off as easily as that to dollar cost average for just a few weeks into something that everybody told me that you shouldn't hold for more than a day. All the warnings, everything that you read on it says don't buy it, bad idea, move on to other things, buy the individual companies instead, all that other stuff. And I thought, man, that doesn't sound very fun, right? I'm used to volatility. I like Bitcoin. I like extreme volatility, right? So getting into this stuff, yeah, boy, you're talking volatile, right? It's incredible. I mean, this thing was selling for like $68 last week, and now it's at $86, man. That's how fast this thing moves. And, to think, man, I'm going to time the market, I'm going to do all that other stuff. And I was just like, I don't know how, man. I don't know what you're going to do. Because to me, I have never been able to time the market. But I've certainly been able to look at the market and say, man, it was depressed before, and it doesn't feel necessarily depressed anymore. And I wonder why. Is it because it just happens to be summertime and we get more business during the summer? That's usually pretty typical, so maybe that's it, which it should be, and that's what I should give it meaning to. But ultimately, I think to myself, man, I don't know. This economy may be getting far less restricted than anybody had ever given it any kind of consideration for. And if it is less restricted, how is it that I'm going to play that game? Because everybody else seems to think it's restricted. And it won't be restricted. It will not be unrestricted or less restricted until the Fed cuts rates. How many people think that, right? Like everybody. Michelle Bowman, who is like runner-up for a Fed position over, well, she's like in charge of what is it, regulations or something of the banking system right now. But, she's like one of these massive influential people over at the Federal Reserve, and she's saying there needs to be 3 interest rate cuts this year. But yet you got other Fed officials who are saying, nah, we're good right where we're at. I think to myself, the Federal Reserve has said it over and over again. They want to be at neutral, but yet you can't observe neutral in real time. You can only observe it over past time. So when they come to the understanding of where it is that neutral interest rates at, and it's somewhere between here and there, and it's not that far away, I think to myself, that's an economy that's far less restricted than anybody had ever given a consideration for. I don't care if it's just 3 interest rate cuts or no interest rate cuts. We're not that far from neutral. And if we're not that far from neutral, the economy is far less restricted than anybody had ever thought it was, especially most people who are thinking that the Federal Reserve is making a mistake, don't know what they're doing, and they're keeping it in a horrible position. By having this understanding, you'll never be able to see that the opportunity to make money in certain stocks, especially leveraged ETFs that people tell you not to buy into, can actually do quite well. I mean, that's what I was thinking about. Most people don't look at it that way. Most people have to go and they have to study each company, and they have to go through all these different numbers, and they have to study these stats, and then they have to come and put these, numbers into some equation to come up with the idea on whether or not it's a good buy. I don't know how to do that. That's not, yeah. I mean, that's somebody else. That's somebody else's YouTube channel. For me, like, I just have to think about how much business I see going on out there. How it is that I think about the inventory levels when I'm buying lumber and find that there's missing units that are not available right away. How lumber prices that I am buying are cheaper than the lumber futures prices are. And I think, man, I wonder how many people actually know this stuff. Very few. Very few people actually see it this way. And so I think, okay, well, if nobody else can see it this way, and I can see that there's a little bit of demand that picks up, again, could be summertime, could be more people just, getting easier about, feeling about doing something in the economy, considering they've been postponing everything, not knowing what the hell's going on with tariffs or whatever. So you have this, like, what should I call it? Project delaying fatigue. Like they want to build the deck, but they're worried about tariffs, so they don't want to buy it at too expensive, and they don't know what's going on, so they're postponing the project, so they figure out what's going on, not realizing that lumber prices are cheap right now, and that they could be buying into it. Once they realize it, they're like, dang, I'm going to go ahead and pull the trigger on these projects. We could be finding something like that taking place. I don't know. I don't know the psychology of what's going on with most people out there, but I do know that when I see people saying, man, how much is it that you're selling those 2x4s for? And I tell them, and they say, is that a lot? And I say, well, same price I was selling them for back in 2018. Right? Is it expensive? Kind of, but not really. No. Right? $3.89 for a 2x4 that I used to sell for $4.29 back prior to COVID. I mean, in 2019, there was a huge crash that took place in lumber, and I think I was selling like a 2x4 for like $1.50 or something like that. And it was super cheap. But that was during a time in which that there was an ultimate crisis taking place within the lumber mill industry. And there was lumber mills shutting down all over British Columbia. There was, curtailments taking place, massive inventory depletion. It was a horrible event taking place back in 2019. And very few people actually understood what was happening at the time. That was the main reason why the lumber prices shot up to their $1,700 per thousand during COVID. It wasn't because of manipulation and, anything like that had to do with that. It had to do with the 2019 mill shutdowns. It was a mill crisis taking place in 2019. My YouTube channel is full of it. Just go back and look. I got like a whole year's worth of video where every other day I was talking about another mill getting shut down and more inventory depletion. And so it was no surprise to us when COVID hit and there was a stimulus check, and I'm watching people running down to my lumber yard and buying up all the lumber to build fences to block out the neighbor, to expand on their, addition, or, redo the garage or the office because they're living at home now and they're going to make their space look better. So they're down at the lumber yard just buying everything up. And I run out of 4x4s. I think to myself, oh man, That was quick, right? 4x4 pressure treated lumber. I mean, man, normally I have plenty of stock on it, but I ran out of 4x4s really quick. I go to call up and get some more, and he says, "No, sorry, man. Everybody else ran out too." Well, 4x4 is the cornerstone of any outdoor project. Like, if you're going to start a project that's outdoors, generally it starts with a 4x4, right? 4x4 in the ground. So when we ran out of those and we started running out of all kinds of material after that, and we couldn't get a supply of it in, I knew it was a matter of time before the demand for it was going to start sending the prices through the roof. I mean, you can go back. There was an interview I did with George Gammon, and I talked about that very thing. I said that there's a lack of pressure treated lumber in the system. I said it on his channel in an interview that we had done together. And it wasn't 2 weeks later that you saw the news articles just blasting all over the place about missing units of lumber out there. Nobody can find pressure treated beams, and it was just this big story that just started blasting everywhere. And I thought to myself, man, I knew that was going to take place. And what was interesting is, like, so many people are like, man, how come you didn't go and make money off of that? And I really didn't know how at the time. I really didn't. Like, I mean, I'm looking at lumber futures, but I didn't know. I mean, I guess I could have bought into, like, some of the lumber companies that are out there that make money, or make lumber and try to make money going that route. But I really didn't understand, like, investing or how to invest or how to make money with those lumber trades. I actually had a guy call me up, or email me actually, and he says, "Thank you for the information that you put out." He said, "I actually made some really good trades because I'm a commodity trader," is what he supposedly was. He said, "I made a lot of really good trades and made a lot of money off of your information. I appreciate it. Thank you for putting out the content." And I'm like, "Yeah, no problem, man. I mean, I wish I knew how to make money off of it." He sent me a PayPal for $100. He says, "Well, there you go, man. That's your commission." And I thought, man, that was really cool. That was pretty cool to, for the guy to, not only, like, take the time to thank me for it, but then also, send me essentially a tip for putting out the tips, putting out the what it is that I'm viewing and seeing within the lumber industry. And the more I got to thinking about that, I was just like, yeah, what is it that I could do to actually take advantage of this, of this information and the view that I have? And that's where I found that particular ETF. There's another one out there. It's not all leveraged out though. It's called Wood, WOOD. But that one I wasn't nearly as, like, excited about because, to me, I like volatility. I like risk. I like gamble. I like taking a chance. And for me, I don't feel money is is something that, like, how do I put it? It's not something like I don't waste money. Like, I don't buy stuff that I don't want, and I don't, like, just like, I don't buy useless stuff, or whatever. In fact, I have very little possessions at all, and I don't really think about it like that. But to me, like, money isn't something that I'm worried about, like, losing when I'm taking that opportunity with it. It's almost like as if it's a lesson learned, and it was just like, okay, so I paid for a hell of a good lesson. Right? If I was to, like, when I put it towards something, I'm trying to make them, I don't know, turn it into whatever, I mean, buy something and flip it or whatever happens, and it just doesn't work out, or try and buy something like a stock that fails. Every time you spend money, it's a lesson, like whether you gain or lose. Right? And so to me, that's how I look at it. I don't look at it as a loss. People think it is a loss and gain, and to me, it's not really that. It's more of like a lesson learned. And every time it's a lesson learned if you're gaining and losing. Anyway, we got 44 likes on this video. Oh, that's pretty cool. All right. And my other buddy as well. Okay, what do we got here? Won't get 57% investing in the bar after work or in the pretty girl that got you her number, her misdialing and shrinking up combo relation with you. Huh. That's so funny. Anyway, never mind. Let's move on. Let's talk about, like, what it is that we're talking about here, investing. How it is that you can use your boots on the ground view to invest, right? How it is that you can see it first. Like, I mean, I really honestly, I mean, I think about like the people who call me up who are looking for freight to haul around. These are like shipping brokers. Right? So they're calling up, they're like, hey, I'm looking for your shipping manager is the first thing they ask for. And then they say something that was just like, well, we have plenty of available space. Do you have like stuff that, you want shipped around, you need shipper, we haul things. And they're these shipping brokers. And of course, we have our own fleet of vehicles and our vendors deliver to us, so we don't really use these guys. Right? But something that I find interesting is just like, man, they probably have a really good position to actually view a lot of the economy because you think about, like, I turn them down constantly, right? But they must have the ability to actually make deals, right? And now the more deals that they start to make, the more activity is happening within the economy. Now, for me on the other side, so they're like, firsthand kind of thing, like, I mean, they gotta, like, somebody wants something shipped. Well, they're the broker who's seeing that and now dealing with it, right? That's firsthand notice. Like, I mean, that's like advance notice before the truck even has the stuff, right? They're understanding that this stuff needs to move. So when that economic activity starts to pick up, that those people who are involved in that are going to be able to know when their business is picking up. They're feeling it. They're feeling it first. Now, the rest of the economy hasn't felt it yet, right? Because everything starts with shipping, right? But it really starts with orders. And it starts with somebody manufacturing, right? It starts with whatever it is that you happen to be viewing at the time. And when you see that start to pick up, when you start seeing the customers calling, when you start seeing or hearing the phone ringing more, there's something happening there and that you need to start taking action. Like, I mean, that's what I do myself. When I think about how it is that these people are calling me, these shipping brokers, I'm like, man, there must not be a whole lot of economic activity out there because they're calling me. Sometimes they stop calling. And I think, where do they go? Like, they're all random. They're not from the same company. They're just all kinds of people all over the place, just looking to haul, like looking for freight to haul. And I think, where do they all go all of a sudden? Well, all of a sudden, there's a ramping up of shipping, and they're like, hey, man, we got all we filled all the capacity. But when the capacity starts opening up and there's a lot of empty space and they need to start filling it, well, then the phone calls start to pick up. Right? So again, again, I'm not even necessarily involved in shipping in that kind of fashion. Like, I mean, I am somewhat, but I'm more like local and not like nationwide shipping kind of stuff. But these guys give me an indication of what's taking place nationwide shipping just simply by their presence on the phone calls. Anybody can do this. You're like, I mean, you know, like, you don't even have to understand anything about the industry to know that those phone calls are coming in. Who is this? Oh, let me grab my glasses here. Thank you for the super chat very much. We are 28 minutes into this live stream with 144 people watching with 66 likes. Thank you so much for hitting that like button. I know, I wasn't sure how I was going to do this video. Somebody just asked me to talk about nail, right? And I'm like, all right, well, I'll just come out and babble on about it, I guess. All right. I also dollar cost average into nail with you. I thought it would be smart to listen to the construction guy about construction, about it, construction. You got it. Let's see. City Star Production 6703. Thank you so much for the $1.99. And remember, like, all this information is for you to use, at your own risk, and I don't know if you're cashing out at this point, because if you dollar cost average in with me, then you should be somewhere around that same amount of gains, right? Somewhere around that 57% or 50% or so. And to me, like, that's a hell of a return in 30 days. I mean, I don't know. Like, I thought that was pretty decent. I'm not an investor. I was pretty happy with it, but I think it can go further from here. Now, how much further and how fast it goes, I don't know. Like, I don't know if it can go up, down, or sideways at this point, but I'm not really that concerned considering that, at $86 a share and my average now is at 53, that gives me a lot of confidence to just go ahead and it's like, well, maybe I should just go ahead and buy some more and just keep building up my share with the amount of shares I have. And if it does happen to fall, again, I can just lower my average. So I don't know what it is that other people are planning on doing. But again, when you're listening to this, don't take this as like some kind of investment advice. Absolutely not. Like, that's not what I'm doing here. That's not what I'm trying to share with you. I'm trying to share with you how it is that I used my personal insight from boots on the ground perspective in order to find a place to deploy some money that would get a return in which that I felt comfortable with, understanding the industry that I'm in. Right? That's what I was trying to do. And so, like, for other people who are like, man, I don't know nothing about lumber and I'm going to buy in because the lumber guy said so, like City Star Production did, that it is like literally like you can make a 57% return on gambling down at the poker, down at the poker games. Right? So, like, it's the same thing. Like listening to the guy on the YouTube channel and buying that stock, and then, like, I mean, I appreciate you thinking, okay, man, he's smart enough about it. I'm going to follow his lead. I mean, appreciate it, and I'm not trying to, to like, belittle anything out there, not by any means, But again, I'm not trying to, I'm just, I just feel nervous about people going, oh man, I'm going to do the same thing. Gold and silver have a solid track record for standing up to the dollar's shortcomings year to date. The price of gold is up about 4%. Earnings interest on gold means your ounces grow year over year. Yeah, and Raymond, here's the thing about, I mean, and don't get me wrong, I'm a big time fan of gold and silver and all that other stuff. Like, don't, I mean, I'm straight up. Um, the thing about it is like, you have to really understand the network, right? You have to understand the buy and sell. You understand the premiums. You understand the moves. You got hedges. You got all kinds of stuff that you can do in order to make it like, your investment. To me, it was very difficult. I can never find it to be something that I thought, man, this was a good move until I used it to buy a car. When I bought the car with it, and I thought, man, this is an insurance policy. This is a good insurance policy, and that's the only thing that it is to me. And so when I looked at it as an insurance policy, I mean, all of a sudden it like gave me this relief of wanting it to go up. See, that's the funny thing about it. Like, I was talking to somebody about it earlier. They were like, where do you think silver's going to go? Is it going to go up? And I'm like, really, honestly, I don't know where silver's going to go because it's such a manipulated metal, right? Such a manipulated commodity. If I had my like wants, I would want it to stay low, below $50 an ounce until I'm like 80 years old, and then go to 500, right? To $1,000 an ounce. That would be what I want. So as people are like, man, wouldn't it be great if the manipulation game ended? And I'm like, no, it would be terrible. The manipulation game keeps us in cheap silver. And the more we have cheap silver, the better it's going to be for everybody out there who is collecting up on silver. Sorry, guys. My video production team is not doing a very good job. There we go. Which consists of a rolled up piece of paper and a little bit of electrical tape. Anyway. Larry, don't desire the sale, desire to provide the value, in my opinion. Yeah, I'm not sure what you guys are talking about, but anytime you ever provide value, usefulness, helpfulness, value to the world, and you do it consistently and honestly, then it's almost as if there's no other choice but to get a return from that, right? And even if it's not immediate, it ends up being a return over time invested into that. Well, it's almost like you don't have any other choice, that you will get some sort of benefit from it, considering that the people who are around you will give you opportunities. They will think of you for opportunities. And if you take advantage of those, like you actually jump at the opportunities that are presented to you, then you're going to find that they come more and frequently. Okay? And again, it's just simply by being of value. When people see you of value, they want you around. All right. That's all they're like. I was trying to explain to somebody the other day about how it is that their attitude really is not guided any longer after they're like not a okay, hold on. So there was somebody who was kind of babbling on in the store, right? And they were kind of almost making a nuisance of themselves, like their energy kind of drove people away, like nobody wanted to be near them because of the things that they were saying, and they were very negative, and they were talking about divorce and all this other stuff, right? And I thought to myself, I have never ever experienced this guy outside of that. Like I've never seen him in a good mood. I've never seen him tell like, be coming in. It's like, man, awesome, man. Great to see you guys. Hope you have a wonderful day. Adios. Boop, and bounce out the door. It's always negative stuff that comes from it, right? And so as I got to thinking about it, I was just like, how is it that this guy has this negative attitude? Is it like, did he just like, what happened in his life that happened, right? So it's not so much that I think like something happened as much as it is like, as you become an adult and move away from being a kid, like as a kid, the other kids kind of guide you, right? Even if you're weird and just don't fit in or whatever, they kind of fit you in. The rest of the kids do. And although there's kids who get outcast and all that other stuff, I get it. But, I was taken, for example, like there's this group of kids, and I was witnessing one of them behaving like I don't know, like a snake or an alligator or something like that. And all the rest of the kids who didn't really play into his game would engage with it for a little bit, but then try to get him to like, play the other games, and play the other stuff. But he was just totally content being this lizard, right? So in that sense, like, the other kids are like, hey, we're not into what you're doing here. Come join us in this other things. Like there was offered up. They were like, kind of expressing to him, hey man, this isn't well, the more that you become an adult, the less that happens, right? So either you're doing it or you're not. Like either you're jiving and you're vibing, and people are like, hey, man, that's an energy that I like, or it's not. They don't guide you into the appropriate energy that they want to see in. Not like trying to guide the kid out of being the lizard, and say, hey, come play ball, right? But instead, he wanted to be the lizard and pretend to bite and hiss and do all that other stuff, which was his game and all content to do that by himself or whatever. But as you grow up, the idea of playing like that out of society role, like, not fitting in kind of thing, you don't have the people trying to pull you back, right? Trying to say, hey man, don't act that way, don't behave that way. Come join in on doing this and behave normal, right? Behave like the rest of us do. And so after you grow up, right, if you didn't learn some sort of proper behavior from the other people who are around you that says, hey man, it's kind of weird what you're doing there. Don't do that no more. Start doing this instead, or be like, if you're going to be around us, be like this. The more you grow up, the less you get that. And if you didn't get that, proper social training by the time you're growing up, then it makes it very difficult for you to fit in with just about anyone anywhere. Just like this guy just having a normal conversation with one of the other clerks had driven literally all the customers and all the other clerks like away, like to the point we couldn't even see him anymore because we just so like feeling so negative about the energy that he was putting off. When he did finally leave, I walk up to the clerk and I'm like, man, dude, that's a tough one to get through. And he was like, yeah, I've known him a long time and it's hard to like be rude to him, You just kind of like listen to his stories or whatever until he finally is done, and then he leaves out the store. That right there is what I feel a lot of people suffer within our society is like literally they do not know that there is particular energies that they carry that are either magnetic or repulsive. They just literally don't understand it. They were never taught that. They never figured it out. The people around them never expressed it to them. There was like nobody telling them, right? Hey, man, you need to chill. You need to back down on on the things that you talk about, the negative parts of it. Nobody wants to hear these things. And once they finally do figure it out, generally it's just like, it's either like too late, the divorce has already happened or the friends are already lost or something of that nature. I don't know what made me bring that up. Anyway, it was something that I guess I witnessed today. Uh, Sounds like my family member. Good evening, y'all. Hey, Mary, man. Yeah. Thanks for hanging out with tonight's live stream, guys. I don't know if I'm gonna. I understand all nighter hider. I look where there's value. I wish I had some in bounce. I mean, this is the thing. Like, I wonder, like, I don't know. I mean, there's so many things to do out there that, I mean, I don't know what you guys are talking about, but I mean, I just think about there's so many things to do out there that are just so like easy to provide value that you don't even have to think about anybody else. Like, I mean, I take the family every so often and we go and we pick up trash around along the river walk. For one, I want to go walk along the river walk, and for two, there's litter and trash and stuff like that. So, carrying a little plastic bag and one of those little claw picker things and just picking up cigarette butts or bottles or, cans or whatever it is that happens to be laying along the river walk, it's pretty easy to do and there's nothing to it. And it's a nice walk. And that's the whole intent anyway. It was just to go for a walk. And it's amazing on how many people think us, right? Freddie loves it. It's like Easter egg hunting for him. He's like picking trash out of everywhere, and seeing who can get the most. Max a little, he kind of drags behind, but he'll pick up some. And then, people thank us all the time. They're like, hey, thank you for doing that. I was like, yeah, no problem. I'm happy to do it. And what I find kind of funny is like it's a walk from like the Safeway, the grocery store, to the coffee girl, and I don't know, maybe half mile, I don't know what it is. And so, you walk this half mile and back, and there's not that much trash. I'm pretty thankful for Astoria. I mean, whether the city keeps it clean or other people or whatever, but for the most part, we usually come back with a couple of bags full of garbage, but it's not that bad. And people thank us all the time for it. And then occasionally somebody will have this to say. They'll be, "Oh, we need to organize a Riverwalk cleanup." And I think to myself, "What? Why do you need to organize a Riverwalk cleanup? I mean, we just picked up a half mile. Your friends can go and pick up a half mile, and it wouldn't take much. You got all day. You can do a whole thing, right? I mean, you don't need to organize anything. You can just go start doing it." And that's what I find very interesting about that thought, that comment. We should organize a pickup. And I'm like, I'm I just picked up a half mile. My family and I, we just picked up, it wasn't that bad. It was pretty easy, really. It was very casual walk. It was like, we don't need to organize anything, just go do it. And so I think if people have more of that attitude, just go do it, then we wouldn't have to think about organizing these things. It would just be done, right? The value would just be presented and like, or the need for it. And people would be like, oh, cool, I can do value. I'll go pick this up because it's cool to provide value and you know that you're going to get a return. Well, I live in a small town, right? And there are a lot of people who walk on the Riverwalk. Now, I'm not trying to like, make it look like I'm like, hey, I'm some cool person or whatever for picking up this garbage because ultimately I wanted to go on the Riverwalk and I'm making, like boys pick it up because, I want to make them go along with me on the Riverwalk. And other people see that, right? And they remember that and they think about that. Well, that's good energy, right? There's nothing but good energy that comes from that. And so if you're out there investing into good energy just by simply just being out there doing good, just do whatever. Just, I mean, it isn't hard to go out there and just pick up some litter. It's not a difficult task to go and round up some grocery carts and, clean up the parking lot so people can have a place to park and to make it easier on them. I've thought it many times. I'll see people who are unloading their groceries and I'll walk up to them and I'll say, hey, I'll take your cart for you. You don't have to go take it back. Yeah. People are sometimes very thankful. Other people are like, nope, I got it. I don't want you to do it. I'm like, you got it, man. It's weird. I mean, I get uncomfortable when it happens, but it does happen and I totally get it. They're just like, no, I'll take care of my own stuff. Right. Because everywhere they go, they always deal with their own. You know, it's great attitude. It's great. It's a great feeling to have. I go to cities and I'm just kind of disgusted with how much litter and garbage I see everywhere. You know, and I understand it's just kind of the way it is. In some areas, and for me, I just like, I think to myself, there's so many people, right? There's so many people. If they all just want and picked up one piece, it would be gone. And it would, like, it's just like a so lack of value that people are wanting to provide to this world without like a guaranteed return, that literally all the people out there who look at the garbage, if every single person just literally went out there and just picked up one piece of it, it would have just all be picked up. It would, and that's what I find very, like, kind of amusing about the whole thing, and I do find it amusing, is that this is the energy that most people end up carrying, you know. And in the cities, it's really negative. It's like the city carries a negative energy to begin with, right? Because it's all compact and angry and, mass stuff. You never get any peace, you never get any quiet, never get any, like, chill time. And so with that, becomes like kind of like a carelessness, like, it's somebody else's problem. It's too big. It's too overwhelming. It's too whatever. It's too much. And that's the unfortunate consequences of having that mass concentration of people like that and creating that kind of negative thing. Oh, no dice? No, we got dice. I'm sorry, man. The more you get away from that, the more you have the opportunity to actually relax and chill with people who are feeling more positive about their environment, their place that they're at, and willing to keep the area clean. And that's like one of the reasons why I love living in Astoria. A lot of people have that same attitude, You just have to be ready mentally and financially for a really good short. Yeah. How do you improve yourself? What was that one? How do you improve yourself if you're the unimproved version doing the improvement? Merriman, or is that you? You think about it. Everything has to be built brick by brick, right? Some people think, okay, well, maybe I can just watch this video and I'll just be guaranteed a happy life after I watch this video because, I listen to some guru who, talks self-help. You have to make that decision that you're going to do it, right? Like, it was just like, okay, I don't like the way I'm living. I don't like the way I'm thinking. There's obviously something else out there that needs to happen in order for me to acquire the things that it is that I want in my life. Here it is. Like, some people, it was just like, okay, so, like, if you want to learn Spanish, like, if you want to be able to speak Spanish, are you going to be able to learn that in a single day? Absolutely not. You're going to have to practice. You're going to have to be in it. You're going to have to do it a lot. And if you do it a lot, eventually you're just going to get to the point where it's just like you don't even think about it. You're not going to think about the first day that you were trying to learn it. You're just going to think about how it is that you do it, right? Or how it is that you're going to have a conversation about it. So you know that you're not going to be able to speak a language in a single day. Maybe some people can, but you're not going to do it. Right? But you do know that you can speak another language, that if you practiced long enough and put enough time towards it and you were committed enough to it, that you could speak another language. Same thing. All right? It's the exact same thing. Whether you're speaking another language or you're trying to change the way that you're thinking or the way that you're behaving or trying to find business, money, relationships, whatever it is that you're doing out there, obviously, if you don't have it in your life, it's because of what you're thinking and feeling. And if you have these weird thinking and feeling behaviors that are manifesting inside of your subconscious, it's going to come right out. And if you're trying to do something like acquire money by doing business deals and you have this wanting, needing energy that's coming from it because you just don't really have an understanding of what it is to actually do the business deal because you're new and you're nervous at it, it's going to show. All right? It's going to come right out. The more you do it, the more confident you get, the more confident you get at what you're doing, the more it becomes second nature. You don't even think about it. I had a guy today who was ordering a door for me. Here's an example of it, right? So I had a guy who was ordering a door for me. We go through all the details. I print it all out. I said, there you go. There's the bid for the door. And he says to me, he goes, you did one of these for me a couple of months ago. And I gave it to the customer to order. And they took it to your competitor. And with your details and stuff like that, and ordered it from them. I'm sorry. And I'm like, hey, bro, it happens, man. Customers, they may just not feel comfortable, going someplace else. Maybe they just knew those other competitors. It happens, man. I mean, I understand we put the work into it. I put all the time and, the effort to put the bid together and, present it and do all that other stuff. It wasn't like it took that much time, but I understand that we did the work. No big deal, right? We're going to get future doors. Not a big deal, man. Just let it go, right? And I'm telling the customer this, right? And the customer's apologizing to me for not buying the door from me. And I don't even know. I didn't even know it. Like, I didn't even like whether the door was purchased or not. It wasn't anything that I knew about. And so, like, he didn't even have to bring it up. Ultimately, being is just like, I understand as a salesman, my job is one thing only, right? I need to make that sale happen. Now, I understand that the customer has a need and my business has a need, right? My business needs to make a profit and my customer needs to make a profit as well, right? Now, my customer is generally like, if you got the customer who's doing the homeowner, I think about them needing to make the profit as well. Their house needs to have the appropriate door that's going to give them the best, they need to have the appropriate door that's going to give them the best thing, right? I don't know how to describe it, but ultimately by giving them the best door or the appropriate door for what it is that they do, it's going to have the best value for the house. So no matter what, it's always about the profit. Right? Some of them are in desperate need for it. Some of them want to do upgrades, but again, everybody needs to make money at this. Now, I can try and sell the cheapest door possible and sell it up as much as I can. Like, oh man, quality door gonna last forever. You're gonna love this door, whatever, and it's the cheapest door out there, just to make sure that I get the sale, right? Because that's really what I want to do is get the sale done. And there's plenty of people out there who will do that, who will offer up the cheapest door possible. Now, me, I know that I live in the Pacific Northwest. I know that I have over the years dealt with a lot of customers who have to replace their doors because of the failure from the weather and the harsh environments and the failure to maintain, to keep up on the maintenance and everything that goes on with it. And because of these issues that come from it, I know how to sell a door in the Pacific Northwest. Say, hey, you got this door here that's facing the southern exposure, and you're not that far from the beach. You ever consider maybe just going with a full fiberglass door, fiberglass or composite jamb with a composite threshold, stainless steel hinges, satin knuckle hardware? This is going to give you your best opportunity. And on top of it, why don't we offer you a storm door as well? All right. Now, the storm door isn't really needed if you don't think it's needed. Some people out there who use those storm doors really appreciate having the storm doors on there. It's an upsell. Right? Whether you want it or not, the door behind it is going to be a quality door. And whether you install that storm door or not, that door behind it is going to last because I'm not going to sell you anything that's crap. Right? Not from where I'm at, and not from where it's going. I'm in this game for too long to have somebody come back and say, hey man, that door you sold me 20 years ago fell apart. Doesn't happen. Right? I've been in this game a long time. I don't hear it. Right? I only sell quality products. If people say, hey man, can you get me something cheaper? Yeah. What do you want? I'll give you a bid on something cheaper. You tell me what it is that you want me to give you a bid on, because this is what I want to sell you. All right? You want me to go to another company? What company you want me to get a bid from? Because if you want me to deal with the company that I trust, I'm going to offer you the ones that I trust. Yeah. And I've done it before, it's just like, people say, go get me the cheapest window you can. And I'm like, all right, here it is. Boom. You gonna put that thing in your house? And they're like, no, but I'm like, I wouldn't either, man. But I can go get you one if you want. I bought a Bitcoin during the pandemic. I was so lucky. All my coworkers laughed at me, but I made double my money. Yeah, I've been buying Bitcoin regularly. I am so happy I have. I've tried to get other people to buy Bitcoin around me. They haven't done it. Cryptocurrency is by far the biggest portion of my portfolio of investments that I've done outside of maybe the real estate in the house. But like out of all the stuff that I have ever purchased, Bitcoin has smoked them all, right? I mean, it has just absolutely killed it out there. So I don't even try to argue it anymore. It's like it's $50 a week into Bitcoin from now on. From now on, period. Like there won't ever be a time again for the rest of my life that I won't be doing $50 a week. right? Or I might even start kicking it up at some point. But they're not making any more. Just think about that. There's no. That's why I keep trying to tell people they're not made. There's hardly any more that's going to be coming. The miners are not going to be able to really provide that many more Bitcoin coming into the future, right? I mean, like pretty much all the supply is out now, and it'll just be trickling in ever slowly from this point on. So, you know, it's all about getting as much as you can at this point. It's like stacking up as much as you possibly can. Same guy, like I'd put that window in my rental though. Yeah, well, yeah, I mean, it's true. I mean, when it comes to the rental properties, I mean, you got the cheapest stuff that you'll ever generally go with. And that's not for all rental properties. And again, like, it really comes down to the property owner themselves. Most of the time, I would agree. Like, I would agree that 90% of the time that you would find that rental properties are generally the least expensive stuff that you can find to go into them because the people hammer them, right? Like, people talk about all the awesomeness of rental properties or being a property owner and having all these rental properties. They do not see the nightmares like I see or I hear about coming from the property owners talking about how people cause $20,000 worth of damage to a house, or like I heard one today, just that very thing, or just the silly stuff that people do, like painting like incredibly dark, odd colors or something like that take forever to cover up because they want to use cheap paint. So, it's just like those kind of stories that you hear about, it's constant. I mean, that's all I hear about. All right, BlackRock trading digital gold for real gold when BTC hits 70K, 700K. Man, that's going to be so awesome. I can't wait for Bitcoin to go to 700K. Like, I'm feeling so like awesome about Bitcoin being at $124,000. It's just like that just makes me feel just absolutely just amazing. Yeah. Of course, I feel like hell when it falls the other way, right? Because we're emotional investors. All right. Do you think the 20% can carry the economy without the 80%? No. No, no, no. No, they can't carry the economy for the 80%. Absolutely not. I mean, who else is going to drive the truck? Who's going to flip the burger? Who's going to make the beer? Right? Like that's your job. That's how you fit into the economy, man. You drive the car. That's what you do. So, I don't know, maybe not you. That's what I do, right? I sell the 2x4s. I put the 2x4s in the back of the truck. That's like, you know, I mean, everybody's has their spot in there. The problem that ends up facing is like what it is the bottom 80%. It's not like they don't consume, right? They consume, and they got to go and buy milk. They got to buy toilet paper. They got to buy all the stuff that everybody else. The bottom 80% consumes. The amount that they consume, and most people when they think consumption, they think about what they're limited to, right? They think about what they're limited to in a lot of ways because like when you think okay milk and toilet paper that's like a chunk, like look, this is I spend a lot of money on this. Milk and toilet paper to the wealthy elite is like insignificant. That's not even a concept. That is just there. It's either there or it's a matter of whether or not you want it. It's not a matter of how much it costs or how much it's burdening you to buy it or anything else like that. They don't even think about it in that fashion. It's just like whether or not they need it, and then like it's not like an added cost to them or anything like that. So you have to think like a wealthy elite, top 20%, simply just buying a house. For the bottom 80%, it's a once in a lifetime opportunity if they ever get the ability to buy a house, because generally, if you're buying a house, you're probably up in the 20%. But say you're not, right? And you are able to acquire a house. This one time opportunity for you to get a house. This is like so awesome. You may like what, once or twice, three times in the lifetime buy a couch, right? You got one that you might have with the kids. You might get another one that you have like after the kids are gone, and then one once you retire, you want to like make the place look good again, right? So you end up buying three couches. Well, think about the wealthy elite when they have three houses, right? And in these houses, they buy couches every couple of years because they're remodeling the things all the time. Think about the consumption that takes place between an individual small house that can barely make it and somebody who has multiple houses and wants constant new environment and like updated fixtures and new furniture and get rid of like all that stuff. Think about how much consumption goes into, hey, I want this car, but now I want fancier stuff that's put upon it, and you start moving into the luxurious ideas of what's happening out there. How many people go out to eat regularly, have other people cook for them? Each one of these is another luxurious experience that you, the server, right, the one who's provider, they're spending their money on. And now 20% do this regularly, where the bottom 80% have to understand, like, they don't do it regularly. They buy the milk and toilet paper regularly, and that's a big deal to them. The milk and toilet paper isn't even a concept to the other people. Our consumption is not their consumption. Their consumption is way beyond what it is that we're thinking. And think about how often they're going to wear the same clothes, constantly flipping everything. And that's the it's the sad part, but it's also like the part that actually gives you the opportunity to make money, right? I mean, it's the fact that they dump money so frivolously into whatever. And the occasional, like, the 80% are participating in those purchases of fancy cars and doing all that other stuff, but the 80% do it once in their life, right? Like once in an opportunity to buy a car, where the top 20% are flipping cars every, couple of years or whatever they want a new vehicle. And the amount of consumption they do is far, far more than everybody else. Like, I'm just trying to give you an idea of it, what's happening. And it's like, it's sad to see it take place. I mean, I get that part, but then you also, I think, man, the conveniences of not owning anything is actually quite nice. You don't have to maintain anything. You don't really have to worry about anything that's out there. All you get to do is use it, and using it is all you really want anyway. Like, the whole idea of owning nothing and being happy. And I'm thinking, well, I kind of already don't really own a whole lot. And the stuff that I do own, it's just like you have to maintain it and keep it up. And, honestly, if I could get away with not owning anything and I could just load up on assets, like cash flowing assets that just pay me, so I can just kind of wander this earth without having to actually work or impact anything or need anything in my life, like how awesome would that be? Like, for maybe other people, they would think that would be miserable, but for me, I'm thinking, man, if I don't need anything in this world and I have everything that I need, like, how, I mean, I can, that, like, man, what a beautiful part, and what a beautiful place that would be. Yeah. But all these, like, I mean, the idea, I need a Harley and I need a truck and I need, guns and I need silver and I need all this stuff to, make me happy and have all this accumulation and all these other things. And I'm like, man, it seems like a lot of security. It seems like a lot of maintenance. It seems like a lot of effort. It seems like a lot of, like, I don't know. It seems like a lot. Yeah. Maybe I'm just lazy. Maybe that's what it comes down to. I'm just lazy. Like, I don't want to maintain anything. I don't want to own anything. I just want to be able to work really hard, get the cash into cash flowing assets, and then have the cash flowing assets paying me. I don't think that's too difficult. Like, yeah, I'm lazy. That's how I'm lazy. That's what I want to do. That's like my goal. Everything else, ew. Yeah. Hey, squirrel saves up for winter. That's not an abomination. What would be one squirrel holding 90% of all the nuts to itself? You'll own nothing and be miserable. Yeah, I don't know. I think that's just all in the experience that you cited. Like, I have no intentions on ever owning a new car. So when people say you'll never own a new car, and I'm like, yeah, I already kind of committed myself to that thing. I mean, unless I have like $1 million, sitting around in the bank, and I'll be like, okay, well, maybe I'll go get a new car or something. But, for the most part, like, I have no desire to have a new car. So people were like, you're going to own nothing. And it was just like, what is it that exactly that I want that people are going to tell me that I can't have? Like, you're going to own nothing. And I'm like, okay, what do you think that is? Like what it like it's just like you're gonna hold this thing over my head that says, "Hey, man, I'm gonna make you in fear of something that you're not gonna be able to have into the future," and I have to ask, "What is it? What is it you're talking about?" Because I ain't worried. I don't know. I have no idea. I mean, I guess I could use my imagination and start coming up with things that they're gonna keep from me. But so far, I don't see anything that's outside of my reach. I can go and get whatever the hell I want. And there ain't no New World Order stopping me. They used to stop me, right? The New World Order used to stop me. I mean, they did. They prevented me from doing all kinds of stuff with my life. I was like enslavement, big time, way bad. It was like brutal. But they don't do that to me anymore. They pick on other people now because I don't know what it is that they're gonna keep me from doing. Like, go for it, guys. I ain't scared. I am not scared. I mean, like, literally, I have to laugh at it because they're like, even the people who are, even the bigwigs or whatever, they ain't gonna come knocking on my door. And I was convinced at one time they would. And it kept me from actually succeeding with my life, and they kept me down. So, yeah, anybody who wants to take down that idea and go for it, you'll own nothing and be happy, and it's going to be some worrisome event for you to deal with. I'm sorry, guys, man. They got you. They already got you. Uh, when they don't need the 80% to do the work, it's going to be frightening. Now, they're going to always need us to do the work. You got to understand, like, you got to understand, like, it's not a matter of not needing to do the work. The people themselves, when the robots come, when the technology comes or whatever, it's going to free them up to be able to do what it is that they should have been doing with their life to begin with. You know, people want to talk about the bottom 80% like as if they're going to be in poor misery and like, some kind of like worthless life or something like that. And it's just like that's not the case. You're just not going to have as much as the 20% are doing, right? It's going to be very difficult to raise a family in a house in the traditional methods, the American dream style. Like if people want that, that's an expensive thing to do. You're probably not going to have a very good time or a very easy time doing that if you're not very well prepared or ready to deal with that. But it doesn't mean that today's society is some sort of hellhole experience. I mean, I guess it is for some people out there, but if you give it the meaning that it's that, then that's exactly what you're going to experience from it. But ultimately, the advancements in technology, the ability to access health, it, just everything is better, right? Everything is better now than it ever has been, but most people just don't want to look at it like it's a better thing that's taken place. They wanted us to see how horrible and miserable and difficult it is. And I know, I mean, I do the videos that talk just that very thing. It gets all kinds of views off of it. I make a bunch of money, and then I kind of feel bad for being in a negative mindset. But hell, it's what sells. What am I going to do? I mean, I want to put out the information, but when 126 people are watching as opposed to, 1,200, I mean, if I came out here and said, "Hey, man, the whole chaos is going to come tomorrow. Tariffs are going to inflict," I could just title it up with whatever I want, and those titles sell. Like I can make more money off the titles of the video than I can off the content. That's sad, right? That's why I mean I love coming out here for hours because when I'm out here for hours, I know that the 120 people who are out here are truly wanting to be here. And that's no joke. I mean, you guys sticking around for this long, that's incredible. Nobody wants to stick around and watch a video for that long unless they're truly wanting to be here and truly pay attention to what it is that's happening. You have the conversation here in order to, figure out whether or not your belief system is lining up in accordance to what it is that some of the other comments are saying, what it is that I'm saying, or, if I'm proving or disproving some of the things that you are believing, or if you're agreeing or disagreeing. I mean, it's all part of the learning experience, and willing to stick it out here for this long, man, I have to give it to you guys. That's like pretty cool. All right. I'm fixing the system. So I was watching a documentary, and basically that took Albert Einstein his entire lifetime to figure out his theory of relativity, and quantum computer could have figured it out in 30 seconds. Well, yeah, but you got to think, if Albert Einstein hadn't done the things that he had done first, and the people learning fast from all his knowledge, right? Because, like, you think about it, he took all this time to come up with this knowledge, and then he taught some other people who were able to acquire a bunch of his knowledge in a short amount of time, and then acquire other people's and start building it up. Like, did he, in a way, get it to the point that this computer is now here to do that breakdown in 30 seconds? Like, what if he wasn't here? Would it be here yet? Maybe it would have been here sooner. Who knows? Right? I was remembering today back when you were polling the channel about whether you should rent a space to create videos. Random memory. Oh, you're talking over there at that place is for sale. Yeah. That out there on Pier 39. Yeah. That would have been cool because it had the view of the river and all that going on. All right, Simon, that's a scary part, because if you look at the chart of all human history and technology, it's flatlined until the last 100 years, and now it's exponential. Yeah, and I understand. I mean, and I get it, because really, like, coming out of the Stone Age and going into what it is that we are now experiencing, I mean, like, just the idea of communication alone, to me, is absolutely incredible. Like, to think that you can put a piece of information that happened here and deliver that information instantaneously to somebody on the other side of the world. Wow. Like, if you were to give that sort of magic power to somebody back in the day before any kind of telecommunications ever happened, you know how amazing of an event that would have been? It would have just been phenomenal. They would have not even understood how it is that they would have behaved or act or anything with that sort of understanding of technology. It would have completely disrupted everything about them, right? To be able to, this is like here, instantaneously, anywhere, you know? Kids haven't come home yet? No worries, send them a text, right? What in the world would that have been like? It would have been so crazy. And if that sort of technology or understanding had existed back in the day, can you imagine what we would be experiencing today? It would be amazing. So yes, you're right. The exponential growth of the technology is taking off, and it's only going to get like incredibly more advanced, and whatever. I mean, it's just like, the mind can get boggled by how much it's actually going to happen. But to also understand that it's always been constant and moving, that the technology is advancing, and that it's going to take place. Like, there's no reversal to it. People say, oh man, we can't allow this to happen. And I'm like, can't allow it? Like, it's taking place. There's no choice in the matter. Like, it's going to take place. So when I think about what it is that we are using for technology today, and then in 20 or 50 years, we're going to look back and go like, man, can you imagine how we were able to even get along back then, right? When we think about how awesome it is today. Of course, they were saying that every time the new piece came in. As soon as they were able to send a telegraph message doing Morse code to one another, they thought, man, look at this. We can send a communication miles away. Isn't that amazing? Everything advances. To me, I don't worry about it. I mean, I think about how awesome it's going to be. And then I think back, like, I think about how awesome it's going to be to experience it. And then I think about how fun it's going to be to talk about it. Like my kids, they're like, Dad, tell me about when phones used to be connected to walls, you know? All right, $5. I was reading stuff on the Fed website and I would read it in my mind in your voice for some reason. It's because I've read so much of it. You know, it's funny because if you read those speeches now, like I'm sure you probably hear them in my voice because I've read them so many times. I think an instant translation machine of all languages would unite the world. Why have technologies that not advanced enough to do that? Well, here's kind of something interesting. I just bought some glasses. I'm gonna have them delivered soon that are like the earbuds that you can wear that will translate, right? So really, if two people are wearing the glasses to speak in their own languages, it may not be exactly perfect, but you know, you might be able to communicate pretty easy just by wearing the appropriate, you know, equipment. Even that in itself, like I've never, ever, 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 ever had language be a barrier for me. Not anything, anytime. Like you don't need to speak the words in order to communicate. And that's what I found very interesting about a lot of people who get frustrated when they're dealing with somebody who doesn't speak their language. Like to me, it's just like that doesn't the language part of it is very inconsequential. Like that's not the part, right? The important part is the transaction, making that thing happen. These people want something, I want their money, they want my money, they have something. Okay, let's make this happen, right? And it's not hard to figure out like, hey man, I want that, how much do you want, numbers, you know, it's pretty easy to communicate. You don't need to really like, you know exactly how to speak the language. But then also like understanding that it's just it communicate like communication is not something that it's not difficult. It's not something that needs to be complicated, and it's like it's going to happen anyway. Some it's all about how it is that you're planning on dealing with it. And I don't know how to quite explain it, but it's just like an energy like anything else is out there, right? If you're in the energy of trying to get the sale done and they're in the energy of trying to buy it, then this can happen. And you don't need to speak the language. You just need to work through it. You need to point, you need to like write numbers down, you need to like, lay things out and point and or whatever, and then finally say yes, and then everybody agrees. So like I've had to deal with a lot of people, not only in my life as a kid, like I would travel around and like going to Mexico or something of that nature, and dealing like trying to buy a piece of jewelry or something off the beach and haggling and trying to get through the language barrier. It was fun. Like to me, that was so enjoyable. Like I absolutely loved going through the shops and everything else, not being able to speak anything. Like I can't speak any language, anything of it, what anybody was saying there, but I didn't care. I mean, to me, it was still fun. And, I still take that with me today. I worked with the guy Abelardo on a job site. It was just him and I just kind of cleaning up this big condominium complex kind of thing. And so we were just like doing pickup framing and, picking up the garbage and the trash and just kind of doing a little bit of maintenance stuff around this condo before they came in with the finish crews and stuff. And I remember Abelardo would not speak to me in English. He understood English just fine, but he would only talk to me in Spanish. And I don't know if he was just trying to get me to speak Spanish or learn Spanish or whatever, but for 30 days, like we worked for a month on this job. It was a 30-day job that we were doing. And he didn't like never once did he ever talk any English to me. And so we would have to like, work all day together, go and get lunch and do all that other stuff, man. I loved hanging out with Abelardo. He was one of the coolest people that I ever got to work with on a construction site, and I missed him terribly when he was gone. I learned so much about him and his family, and I don't understand how. Like I don't understand any of the language, any of the words he was using, but he would pull out a picture and he would just start talking about them, and then talking about like a barbecue or something that he was at, and I would just start understanding the story, I guess. And I just remember that like was one of the greatest times as far as like working construction. I just remember hanging out with him. Man, that was anyway. I don't want to tell the rest of the story. Okay, $5. Oh, that we already read that one. Okay. Thank you for the super chats, guys. We got $19.90 going here. I'm going to give it like another 10 minutes. I'm going to go in and get something to eat. And thus the biblical story of the Tower of Babel, the point of it was to make us hate each other. Now, see, I don't know, man. The older I get, I guess the more I start to open up more to people, to the idea of like, being on this planet for a reason that is beyond that of like just selfishness or personal gain. I actually think about what it is that this planet is going to be like for my kids. I mean, it's not something that I never thought about before having kids. I didn't think about like, what the future was going to be like or anything like that. But now I think, well, man, it would suck to leave them a horrible place. It would suck to have them in a misery, or it would suck to be like, hey, you'll own nothing and be happy. And that's just the unfortunate consequences you have for being born in the year you were. Like, I don't want to leave them to that. Right. And now other people can give them meaning that says, hey, man, you have no other choice. You're going to have to leave them to that. And I'm thinking, I don't think I do. You know, I think that I could do something different, something that gives them an opportunity, unlike what it is that I had for myself. But it wasn't like, I had bad opportunity. I mean, I had decent parents. I was raised in, a good household. My dad was in the military. So it was like, everything was like housing and medical and all that other stuff. All that stuff was cool, but I didn't learn nothing about economics, and I certainly didn't learn nothing about saving or investing or anything like that. That came all from trial and error and just my own personal interest. Uh, um, I just walk around saying gringo. All right. Well, is it? It's to prove that a house divided will not stand. Not to mention. Okay. Immorality. Great comments, ladies and gents. Yeah, thank you guys. I mean, I know the video isn't the greatest this time, but you guys are always so awesome in the comment section. I can never thank you enough for being here. I can understand how Simon could be mistaken for Hispanic. I'm not Hispanic, and I can only speak maybe 5 words of Spanish, but Hispanic people mistake me for Hispanic all the time. Yeah, I mean, I guess. I mean, some people do. If I like, take on a tan or something like that, I mean, I guess some people could probably mistaken me for that. But I mean, not that I'm a, not that I would ever give any kind of impression that I am or that I could speak Spanish or anything like that. So, uh, let's see here. We must unite, work together to create a better world, but we're all possessed. Well, okay, like this is the idea. What is it like? Okay, so the idea just right there with that whole unite, like we must unite to work together to make a better place. That's very much like the idea of the people who are asking me that, saying, "Hey, we should organize a Riverwalk pickup, like litter pickup." Why do we have to? I don't understand. Why can't we just go do it? Why can't we just live the life in which that we want to see? Like every single person. Just instantly just start living the life that you want to see out there. Like I really want to see less Cantillon effect taking place. Nothing I can do to stop it. But I personally can take my money and not put it towards stocks or bonds or Bitcoin or gold or try to invest into the house in some way. I could do that, or just go blow it and blow it on luxurious experience, go buy a car, go do whatever it is. Like my personal choice to not go into those luxurious experiences because I literally understand the Cantillon effect and how it happens. Not only from a personal level, from an individual standpoint, like what happens to me with the Cantillon effect, but what also happens to the society from the Cantillon effect. And by actively thinking about it and saying, well, I don't want to participate in that. I don't want to go down that road. I don't want to help out with the inequality. And people say, well, you owning a car isn't a buying of a luxurious experience. And I'm absolutely it is. Buying a car is a luxurious experience. Owning a 97 Suburban is a luxurious experience. Every single thing that you have in your life of convenience is a luxurious experience. Because there's people out there who literally have nothing, nothing at all, and no chance or of ever having anything because they never had the luxury of having a decent house where they could get an education And sometimes those people just made piss poor decisions and started getting into drugs. And now they have no real chance of getting out of it because the drug addiction is far beyond anything of their control. Right? Everything that we experience is a luxurious experience. Some way or the other is going to separate you from the poor. Right? The more you dive into luxurious experience, the further away from the poor you are. It's not a bad thing. It's just an is. So when I think about what it is that I can do to try and keep myself from moving ever and further away from the poor while yet still preventing myself from ever being poor so that I don't make it ever harder on the poor, but I don't want to make it harder on myself, I'm going to have to move into cash flowing assets, something of a luxurious experience for me, different from what everybody else would ever witness, that's eventually going to move me to the other side of the wedge. And then people are going to say, well, aren't you lucky? And this is how it goes down. And it's unfortunate for a lot of people out there who really just want something better in their life. And so they work really hard and then they buy that thing that's better in their life. And that's literally keeping them from success. It prevents them from being able to have the opportunity to do things with their family, to be able to invest into opportunities of investments, of business, of anything out there. It keeps them from being successful. And they literally think they're successful because they have the ability to make the payment on it. It's the horrible misunderstanding that takes place within our society, within our current state. I always put my butts in the trash, but they still just end up in the dump. All right. Oh, my coin dealer is shutting his shop down. He just sent me a message saying that he's going to have a bunch of Morgans for sale. I should go down and check it out. I know my Thai girlfriend always says that I'm luxurious when I'm just a regular guy. The United States is luxury for sure. Well, absolutely it is. I mean, most people just take it for granted what they have. Right? Most people do. They just take it for granted for what they have, And I have to think to myself, sometimes I even take it for granted what I have, what the opportunities that I have, where it is that I stand, like, even having the opportunity to do more here on YouTube, to put out more effort to do things that are going to be more beneficial to my family. Like, I see the lack of me doing that here right now. Right? And so when I think about what it is that people can do with their life, what it is that people are doing out there in general, it's very difficult for me to, like, be almost sympathetic towards somebody who is saying how difficult it is and how hard it is out there, when I think to myself, okay, are you building a business right now? Right? And if you have a business, are you adapting to the situation? Are you figuring it out? Right? And are you able to figure it out because you kept your expenses low? See, here, this YouTube channel is a business for me, right? It's like a side hustle. It's a side business for me. And I could be using this and the attention that I have here to be selling products and sponsors and be making just a buku amount of bucks. I could probably be making more in a month or two doing sponsorships than I can make all year at my day job. That's no joke, right? Like, I've been offered some serious money for some sponsorships. And I think to myself, I don't like the feelings and I don't like the energy that I have by doing those things. It's just not me. Maybe I just haven't got the right sponsor yet, or something of that is the problem, or maybe it's just some mental block that I have. I don't know, right? But I just don't like the feelings that I get from doing it. So I rely on ad revenue coming from YouTube. Sometimes it's pretty good, right? You put out a couple of really good videos in a month that get, tens of thousands, 100,000 views, you're going to make some decent money off of them. And it's no way of me knowing what that revenue is going to do. I don't know if it's going to be really good this month or if it's going to be terrible next month. And by not having any idea on what it is it's going to do, no matter what my effort is, I could put out all the effort I want. It does not make a difference whether I put out a 10-minute video. Actually, I probably would. It doesn't matter if I put out a half an hour video every day or if I put out 2 or 3 4-hour live streams a day. It will make no difference to the amount of money that I make on my YouTube channel. I've tested that theory time and time again. All the effort that you see me coming out here on YouTube is literally because I want to be out here doing this. It doesn't change the amount of money I get. In fact, the more videos that I put out like this, the less attention they get, the less views they get, right? And therefore, the less ad revenue I get from it. I've oversaturated it, but I just love being out here and I love talking and I love sharing the conversations and I love reading the comments and I just love everything about it. So this is what I like to do, and I feel that it's helpful and useful to a lot of people out there. And by you being helpful and useful, I get a little bit of revenue from that. Whether it's a lot or a little, it seems to depend on YouTube, not me. Because no matter what my effort is here on YouTube, they figure it doesn't change anything. Yeah. So I could be doing other things out there. I like doing this. I like being out here and I like sharing it with you guys. And if I can keep my expenses low so that the volatility of the ad revenue doesn't impact my life, then that's what I'm going to do. All right. I don't let the Cantillon effect, hit me by being in a luxurious experience only to have to suffer with pain and misery when the new money turns off. Like, I understand the position that I need to hold in order to feel comfortable every single month, regardless of the income. And that's the way I play it. Alrighty, guys, I'm going to call it quits. I'm going to go in and get something to eat. You guys are awesome. Thank you for being out here. 111 people with 109 likes watching this boring video on how it is that I was able to get a 57% gain dollar cost averaging into a 3 times leveraged ETF that everybody warned me not to hold or own or buy, certainly not to dollar cost average into. But I play my own game because I am playing from the view that I am standing at, boots on the ground, with the view of the building supply industry and the builders that are within this industry and my feelings of where it is that it's headed. And I felt quite comfortable moving into that position, and it was a 57% return in 30 days. Incredible. All right. And I think to myself, man, I don't think this is over, but I would not suggest that anybody buy it because, man, it is a volatile stock that is leveraged 3 times, and it is not meant to be held for anything longer than a day or two. All right. You guys are awesome. Thank you for being here. Uneducated Economist. You guys let me know. It's not boring. It's one of the most uplifting videos I've seen in a while, and I've been really going through some S lately. Well, Nathan, thank you, man. I appreciate it. And, somebody's, I don't know, somebody had said something and was just like accusing me of like, I don't know what they were accusing me of. But ultimately, like, I don't want to come out here and try and act or behave or pretend like I'm some sort of self-help guru. Like, that is the last thing that I want anybody to think of me as, because I have no idea on what that would be, right? Like, I really don't. And I'm trying to figure out what it is that had happened to me. Like, ultimately, I felt like something grabbed a hold of me and was starting to shove me forward and was like, you don't have any other choice in your life. You're going to go do this. And because it felt like it was beyond me that was taking place, I had to start researching and figuring it out. And believe me, I've looked a lot of places and a lot of them make a lot of sense. So as I start to talk and I start to share with you some of the experience that I've had in the past and what it is that I'm learning about why it is that those things have taken place, the only thing I can offer up to you is my true beliefs and understandings of what it is that was going on. And it really ultimately comes down to the behaviors of thinking and feelings that you are carrying, right? And if you are thinking and feeling negative, horrible thoughts, especially that of like difficulty, of hardship, of like, separation, of loss, these things present themselves dramatically in your life. They show up constantly. And that's what's crazy about it, is because everything is manifested out of your imagination. Right? You can't possibly have anything in your life that if you didn't think about it first, right? So if you're thinking about miserable stuff, you're going to experience it because you're thinking about it, and it's going to happen. And pretty much the ego is going to prove it to you anyway. So this is like the trick of it, is to understand that you are thinking this way, and it's not easy at first, right? It's very difficult at first to make this conscious choice to say, man, I am not thinking good thoughts. They overwhelm you. They're like to the point that it's just like, I'm not thinking them, they're thinking themselves, kind of thing. They're not. Trust me, you're thinking them. You just don't know it. Once you realize that you can think other thoughts and you can force yourself, this is really where the fake it till you make it thing is probably like the only time that I will say it that I actually appreciate it. Right, is that if you can fake your way through this thinking process of it, just fake it. Like, no, I am not having a good time. All these reasons are why I'm miserable. And then you go and you turn on stand-up comedy and you force yourself to watch the stand-up comedy. And if this comedian isn't funny, you go to the next one until you find one that is funny, until one moment you laugh, you got the joke. And that feeling that you got, that little spark, right? Ride that. Right? Because it's not going to last long, because you're going to go back to the way you're thinking. Now, when you get that spark, what it's happening is it's creating this like pathway, right? This pathway to happiness, because you know it's there. You felt it. You just did. You just laughed at this thing, right? You just laughed at this comedian. So you know it exists, or else you wouldn't have laughed. So the moment that you feel it, you know it. You know it's happening right there. Ride that. You may not have it again. It may take the whole rest of the, maybe take a whole another hour of somebody else telling jokes before you laugh again, but you know that it exists. When you ride that thing and you start doing it more, and you look for it more, and you try and find it more, right? It starts wearing this groove. And this is the groove that's going to lead you to that happy thoughts, to that fine energy that you're looking for, that higher vibration. But if you're constantly thinking of the other stuff, right, then what's going to end up happening is you're going to lead down those paths. You're going to end up, in that state of mind, in that environment, in that, thing. Here's the funny thing about it. It doesn't matter what the environment is. It's your energy in it, right? So by the time you get there, if you have this negative energy, by the time you show up there, it's going to be a negative event. You're going to be like, well, we'll wait and see. When we get there, we'll find out how negative it really is. And it was like, I can guarantee you it's going to be negative when we get there. Guaranteed. No doubt about it. So if you don't start wearing the path of positive to get there, then it's not going to be positive when you get there. It's just no freaking way it can happen. So this is, again, like, these are the things that I was learning. As I was stepping away from like looking at the New World Order and how it was that it was going to hold everybody down and hold me down and all this other stuff, I'm looking towards other opportunities of things. Those other opportunities, I looked at all kinds of stuff. Some of it never manifested into anything. I used to be like farming chickens and stuff like that. Like I thought that was going to be like what I was going to be into, was farming birds. Can you believe that stuff? It was a great time. Me and the neighbor, he raised pigs, I raised chickens. We had a great time in this neighborhood, all raising me, the kids and the food and the vegetables and everything else going on. I thought that was a wonderful life. It was super awesome. Right? I didn't have anything going on in my life at the time, right? But it was fun. And so this is, again, like, how is it that you're gonna enjoy your life? Alrighty, guys, I was gonna quit, but you got me talking about it again, because I just love talking this stuff. So let me just read some of these comments, because then I'm gonna go. All right, Simon is more of a friend. Well, thank you, guys. I appreciate it, and I'm always honest with you. So whether you take it and say, hey, man, I don't like what you said, but I love you anyway. Okay, that's cool, because I do say some pretty wild stuff at times, and I really appreciate everybody being here, and I really like people who like being here. That's it. That's really what it comes down to, and it's the reason why I come out as much as I do and do this with you guys, is because I really want to hang out with people who want to hang out. It's more like therapy. This is more, well, okay. Thank you, Uneducated Economist. You guys let me know.